Easter Sunday, a day of which most people decide it's a day to rest, a day to relax, and a day in which you celebrate and you remember. But for some, it's about racing. It's about going out, being quick, and saying you can challenge at the highest level possible. When you get these cars out there and battling, it is one of the funnest thrills that you can have. But it is going to be a difficult challenge on America's Green Hell. It's a full layout here of the Grand West here today. Welcome to Virginia International Raceway, and welcome to your fifth round of the Skip Barber Race Series here in 2025 Season 2. Good morning to everyone here in the European continent. Good morning to those waking up on the East Coast of America. And of course, good evening to those all the way over in the Asian and Australasian parts of the world. My name is Jake Sperry. Alongside me in the booth for today's action is Sebastian Holmichael, with Christian Deploy in the director's chair, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But as it comes to racing, VIR is a circuit that has seen it all, that has done it all, that can be it all when it comes to great racing action, and we will be able to see that in just a couple moments. Before we do, let's take a little look at the pitfalls of VIR with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. Only a short trip away from the state's border with North Carolina, this track has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. After closing for a quarter century, once it was rebuilt, it quickly began to draw major sports car series to its halls. The new owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 5 versions are available on iRacing, with a range between 1 and 4 miles in length between them. With that much pavement, the plethora of corners have earned some colorful nicknames. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, the climbing S's force you to thread the needle before spinning you out into the steep drop at South Bend. Then, of course, there's Oak Tree, which sadly no longer sees its namesake landmark on the inside of the turn, but still retains its frustrating difficulty. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery to get the most out of the lap. While passing can be tricky here, the long backstretch nicknamed Madison Avenue and the lengthy front stretch do tend to offer enough of a draft that you can still give a go at a pass. Still, track position is usually an important factor in most races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life.
It's always wonderful to see VIR in full action, but today a circuit that runs through the spiral and uses the infield section of the track. It's a 28-turn marathon that they have here today, a full 6.5 kilometers here in Olson, Virginia, just a kilometer away from that North Carolina border. Seb, I look at this track and all I think is that the great overtaking zone will be turn 13 today out of Oak Tree, and it's going to be a lot tougher for these drivers to overtake because of that infield section.
Yes, of course, and it's a tough battle, and it's a great track, and many people were even a little afraid that they have to drive on this layout, so we expecting much here tonight. Of course, it's not a big overtaking spot before the roller coaster, and you have several more corners in the infield to make your opponents sweat. And as I know them here in the Skippy, they are racing because only Skippy racing is the real racing, as we like to say.
Absolutely, from the OGs to the 2K World Cup, which used to be one of the greatest sim racing institutions of league racing on iRacing, over, of course, through the likes of the Formula V being added, the likes, of course, of Formula 4 being a huge aspect of iRacing. This is the car that still remains and still gives you every understanding of how to use the accelerator, how to use the brake, how to turn the car. It has all the fundamentals needed to put racing together, and this a track which is one of the first ever actually on iRacing. The first ever broadcast on the iRacing channel is a VW Jetta race at VIR, so it is a very important track in the history of iRacing. Let's talk about this race, though, and what they have to navigate through here today. This is round 5 of 12, and it's not going to be many laps. It's just 8 laps here today, so not really much time to go and make these moves. They've got open setups to work with, so they can fine-tune and fettle the car any way they need to. If they do get into trouble today, they do have one spare car available to go and keep themselves going, but it's old school as well in this series in terms of its incident points. On a standing start, there's none of this business of drive-throughs at 17, disqualifications at 25, Seb. It's a pure disqualification at 17.
So it is, as in most of all the officials, and you spoke about open setups. That will be crucial. You want to have the skippy as lowest as you can, but of course some of these curbs here are very, very treacherous.
They are, and you're going to be keeping your eyes around those to see where the drama is going to line up. But they have 8 minutes here to set their qualifying lap times. They have 2 lap times available, and we're watching Benny Simonson here aggressively trying to get some temperature in the tyres. Here over the Patriot section of the circuit, down the hill through the spiral. That is going to be one of the toughest sections to get right. That down the hill right, leading into that next left-hander, I think, is going to be the one corner that if you get that wrong, everything else in the lap you can just discard.
Yeah, and there are some corners which are super important for the skippy. You have to, pick the pace up, hold the pace through the corners, be on throttle as fast as you can, and of course, warm the tires very, very good, which is Benny doing right here.
Yep, he's desperately trying to get that heat in to unlock his time, and you'll be looking around at certain drivers here who will be thinking about, well, how do I set up and say, what more can I find? Where can I find those improvements? And these first lap times, I think, are going to be really important. Car 6 is a car that should have won, some would say, last time out at the Motor City Detroit Belle Isle. Augusto Lovasolo, the Italian stallion that he is desperately going to be looking to try and get himself back to the point here and winning today at VIR.
That's for sure, and with the time already running out, the very, very long out lap, I think they have just one shot to get this right.
Yeah, because they're doing their outlaps and they've already used up nearly half of the time. 3 minutes and 40 seconds they've already put in. Now remember, it's not a soft count here for 8 minutes like it is in Formula 1 where you can close the lap time off. It is a hard count here, so once you hit 8 minutes, there's not much there. So this is one of the few tracks out overall where you're only going to get one lap and it's going to count through the left hook and the subsequent right hook then from Lovasolo as he'll now look to attack on this flat out section of the exit, attacking here through the snake and up over the subsequent S's that come along with turn 7, 8A, 8B, turn 9, and then over to South Bend at turn 10.
Now up to the hotel, of course. This section, you have to stable the car because you want to have it stable to get down the next left-hand kink very, very good and keep your car in the right position, especially if you're going here too wide.
Yep, so you've got to be very alert to where you are too wide as they head to Oak Tree Corner. The former Oak Tree was, for a moment in time, immemorialized here at VIR in iRacing, but no more do you see that Oak Tree there at the section. It was causing a lot of troubles with the roots growing underneath the circuit, so you have to be very careful. Along Madison Avenue, though, and pivot over that left-hand side curbing gives you an understanding of where is your marker to go and brake, turning into turn 13, which is lucky for some. It falls away from you on the exit, so you've got to be very, very careful at the off-camber turn 13. Back towards the spiral, hitting the Patriot section of the circuit, and it feels like a roller coaster up over the top of the crest. Look at how much wheel work Lovasolo's having to do.
Yeah, that's the Skippy way. You're not driving it very straight. You're wrestling with the car to get it in the best position possible and fast as possible. And as you can see, it's so tricky because it's up and down and still turning in the middle of the crests. So no look apexes. This is really, really a test for all the Skippy drivers.
140 kilometers an hour up over the top of the hill into the roller coaster now of turn number 20, which normally is the prime place to get a move done. I don't think so here today on this layout. Now rushing through towards turns 22A and B, and now the hog pen, turn 23, out on track. This two-part section that ends the lap, and we'll see how good Lovasolo is over the line as those first times are about to fly in on the board. So a Panky with a 53.6, Simonson with a 51.6, goes clear 52.5 only from Lovasolo. He was a full second off the pace. Jerne Zorach is gone to fourth fastest then, but we still have drivers out there like Seb Scholz and Neil Gardner. This could be a big day for him.
Yeah, of course. Neil is always on the front, and yeah, he made time to be here and drive this layout. Oh, Mr. Scholz, German leader at the moment in the qualifying. I like that.
51.
But let's see what Neil got. Sorry.
51.3 for Seb Scholz, 3/10 clear of Simonson. Mayer can only go second on a 51.5, your winner from a week ago. Gardner comes to the line, 52.3. It's good enough for the second row of the grid, and you take that quickly. Only Tim Bentley is going to be the one driver who can try and find those improvements. He'll need to get at least a 3:03 set by Jeff Calvert to go and put himself on the timing board out there ahead of anybody else at the moment, with these 15 drivers of varying levels out there here for VIR, but charging over towards the line. Bentley looking at this thinking, what can I do? A 53 would be great for him as he crosses. It's a 54.8, so good enough for 13th position, and that will be that then as far as qualifying is concerned. Those other drivers out there on circuit are not going to be in a place where they can improve on their time, so the field here is set at VIR. 6.55 kilometers this grand course will run, and the field will stack out in just the next couple of moments as follows. It's car 5 on the pole. Seb Scholz will take that pole position, and the mayor of Quicksville will be along with him for the ride. Jose Luis Mayer is going to be there in second position. Then you got Benny Simonson, who lines up third, with Neil Gardner fourth, and a bit of work to do for Augusto Lovasolo, who qualifies the car fifth, with Brian Kelly in sixth position. Jerne Zorach and Jesus Cabal are seventh and eighth, with Peter Suapanki and Juan E. Rodriguez then rounding out your top 10 of the field. Just 15 cars here today, so I'll run through the final 5 drivers out there. Brandon McDonough in 11th, with Timothy Bentley and Jason Berkheimer then in 13th overall. Jeff Calvert was the last driver to set a time, meaning Joachim Oshbeck will now run from the back of the field. But Seb, it's 8 laps here today, and this is pretty much the thinking driver's race. So you can make the moves early on lap 1, but you are putting a lot of risk in if you don't leave it towards the end.
Yeah, and of course, in the Skippy, you can't escape other drivers on similar pace because of the strong draft with these cars. And yeah, even if you are in the front, even if you are on pole, this is not an easy task here tonight, and there will be some sweaty palms on the wheels.
Yeah, so they will now look to try and keep themselves all steady and stationary for this race, just waiting for a couple drivers to line up on the grid. One is Jason Berkheimer, and then a lot of drivers at the front. Neil Gardner, and as well as that, Benny Simonson and Seb Scholz to get themselves gridded up. They have 2 minutes to do so, and they're probably waiting for as long as possible to grid up so that their tyres do not cool here on the grid as they sit and wait, and the engine temperatures do not rise too much for them, which is why they're leaving it late. And you often see it here that sim racing drivers like leaving it late out there at the moment. Now just waiting for Benny Simonson, who does get himself up on the field. So now gridding process will begin. It's 8 laps for these 15 drivers. Lights on here at VIR. Lights here at VIR are out, and we are underway for racing. Scholz gets a good start. Mayer is pretty much even with him as they all move over to the right-hand side of the circuit to follow in single file through the first 3, 4, 5, 6 positions. They fan out now for turn number 1. Simonson straight down the inside of Jose Luis Maya, looking to get that pass done and manages to do so here, moving through towards turn 2 in the NASCAR bend as they head on up. Cabal's had a good start. Lovisolo up to 5th, already looking to challenge Neil Gardner as they run on through. A nice start then, the start to this race, as the likes of Cabal battle still with the likes of Zorec here as they head to the left hook.
Cabal leaves him some space because this is important here. You want to be on full throttle through this section, even on the cold tires, to follow up in the draft with the leaders.
Suapanki had a little bit of contact then going through with Jesus Cabal, which was never going to be the easiest thing out there. Simonson, though, now at the front, gets it done on Seb Schultz. He wasn't going to wait too long, got it done under the bridge and up to the S's section. So a good move that puts himself over the top. South Bend here is the most loaded corner on this circuit, and now up the hill over towards Oak Tree. Very easy to get this section of circuit wrong if you're not paying attention, and they hit the brakes and go through. Zorec losing out of place as well to Suapanki now, and now the split is starting to form here. I would argue it is your front 7 who are clear at the moment, with Cabal desperately trying to hold on, and then Suapanki makes the bridge of the divides. They head to turn 13.
And they know if they start fighting, the guys behind will catch up again, and maybe even can make an attempt on an overtake. And at the front, of course, there will be the thing. Oh, yeah, it's Jerne.
Jerne Zorec then was side by side with Suapanki into the corner, threw the car in, too much trail brake trying to get it to stick around the outside, and around went Zorec. So that was a really difficult moment. Jeff Calvert also overshot the corner as he went on through, but out of the spiral and now through the Patriot section of the course here. This very difficult S's chicane down and up the hill, looking for drive off the exit, and now it's about making sure you got all the rotation and momentum in the car right now. On board with Neil Gardner here with this fantastic view through the roll hoop as they now rush on forward towards the roller coaster corner. Gardner's got to find a couple tenths here. He's 6 tenths back, and he'll know that Mayer and Schultz and Simonson are going to try and run away. Anytime you can put less people in the group, it's easier.
Yeah, they are super smart. They will try to do that, but there is a little mistake up ahead by Mr. Schultz, and Meller now in P2.
Yep, so now up in that second position here, Mayer getting the move done, will be very, very happy to go and make that happen. So for the moment, Seb Schultz will be looking at that 3rd place, a mistake through the hog pen, which has opened up proceedings, and so not much which is there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, big lockup from Lovisolo through turn number 1, very close to running into the back of Neil Gardner. Had to be careful about it. Side by side, though, they go behind. That's Tim Bentley and Jason Berkheimer for position. Berkheimer, then, the number 7 car from Club Texas, is still holding his ground. Bentley, the number 14 from Club Atlantic here. 2 Americans early morning having a good scrap.
Yeah, that's so great. You welcome the world here to this Skippy SOF race, because there are also people from all over the world racing and enjoying the Skippy, and there's another battle for the lead at the same spot like last lap.
Yep, so they are looking around at it. Benny Simonson now back to 2nd. Jose Luis Maya is then in place. So you are going to be there and waiting for that opportunity out of the South Bend, up over the top of the rise here to the highest point of the circuit here at Oak Tree Corner, which is the closest part of the circuit on the south side over towards the all-important run out there, of course, of North Carolina, which would be where the next state comes along. And so now you sit down, you look at Mayer and co and keep themselves in. This is Jerne Zorec in his spin, and you can see just tipped it a little bit too wide.
Yeah, it's also a case, of course, of the colder tires of the Skippy. They take nearly a lap on this, even on this configuration, to get up to heat and getting a little bit more trustworthy.
So if they've got that trust, it's going to be good. Lovisolo down the inside into the spiral to get the move done, and does manage it there with Neil Gardner. So he gets the pass done and moves 1 up the train, and having to go the long way around of turn 13. It's always very difficult, so that is a very well-accomplished move by Augusto Lovasolo, and he'll be looking around here at the one-quarter stage of this race at Seb Scholz, at Benny Simonsen, at Jose Luis Meyer, and think there is a great chance here for this race to be avenging what happened 1 week ago as they head to the roller coaster.
It's an early start still of the season, but you want to be on top in the end. Not even just like for your winning a race, but be the champion in these very, very competitive field of drivers.
Yeah, we got a 4,200 strength of field, which is impressive for a one-split field out there. There's not many one-split fields that can hit 4,000 strength of field, when you consider that anybody with a D-class license straight out of rookies can bring themselves in. Meyer with the fastest lap of the race, a 2:50.7 on that last lap, using the slipstream, which puts him out and ahead. Big wide line there by Seb Scholz in third position, who didn't necessarily have all the confidence in the world after putting the car on pole. Take a look then from under at the suspension. You can see how bumpy this circuit is, how much work is having to be done through the shocks in the wheels.
Yeah, and how low they are driving the Skippy. You can set it up a little bit higher with the springs and lose a little bit on the ARB to make it easier to drive, but of course the cornering isn't so strict then. But as you said, it's such a great learning tool to learn basically everything you need to know in iRacing or racing in general.
They've dropped Neil Gardner off the back. It's 4 to the floor here in this group as Simonsen continues to shadow here with Seb Scholz, and will be looking to try and race with everything he's got. Benny Simonsen, very accomplished in the British GT scene, and has been racing here, there and everywhere for the Scuderia Ferrari AF Corsa team out there in the British GT scene out there. Did race once upon a time with his brother Alan Simonsen, who very tragically lost his life at Le Mans over a decade and a half ago almost now at this point. But Scholz now sits and waits, and Lovasolo will try the outside. Too wide, too deep. Here we go for the race lead. Benny Simonsen throwing it down the inside. Meyer hasn't got anything to go with. Lovasolo gets the drive off the second part of the corner, but he just can't get enough. A tiny, tiny bit of oversteer, and Scholz defends.
And as you said, there is the corner going downhill on the outside, so that was a tricky one, not catching the grass and still keeping it under control there.
Control was necessary, and Jose Luis Meyer is now trying to bring himself into perspective once again, looking around through the S's now, getting the drive off, passing the Patriot pits on the right-hand side. He is hugging to the back of the rear wing of Benny Simonsen here at the moment, and trying to stay close. You've got Brian Kelly and Jesus Cabal there as well. That was almost contact. Meyer getting so close to the back as he was running up through turn number 19. You could have even forgiven him for having a slight tap to the rear tyre of Benny Simonsen, but it goes to show you how finite the margins are. Meyer is looking like he wants to add more to his jurisdiction, and not just Detroit, he wants Virginia.
Yeah, but now Scholz is on their back and getting the double draft, and it seems like they don't want to wait for the final laps. They want to race it out over the whole race, back to back, changing the positions.
Well, it is all about being near the front, and the gap has opened up to behind. A mistake from Lovasolo has brought him back to Neil Gardner on this lap, but around the outside, Benny Simonsen defends again, and Jose Luis Meyer will now again have to sit and wait at this moment. Takes a big wide line in through NASCAR Ben, trying to open up the left hook. He is so aggressive out there. Every corner he is pretty much like a terrier at the heels here of a driver like Benny Simonsen, and have to be very aware of how much the Spaniard is trying to fight.
Now hopefully he doesn't get his teeth into his leg. It was close at the roller coaster, and here's the next try for the overtake, for the lead.
Yep, and there is the move. Meyer going through. We'll expect to see it on the back stretch then here to see overtakes happening, but Seb Scholz will wait and watch and will try and find his right time. Lovasolo and Gardner are going to have to work really hard. They're at 1.1 seconds. They are at the precipice of losing the draft as Scholz gets really close here up at Oak Tree.
And that's exactly where he needs to be. Not risk too much, stay in the draft, And also, he doesn't need to look into his mirror very frequently right now.
No, he wouldn't necessarily have to do too much of that. Heading to turn 13, once again, a chance to focus on the race, and this is one where 0.2 of a second will feel like half a second out there. 0.3 of a second will feel like a second for these drivers because of how close the margins are, and everyone in the top 5 closing together again, side by side for 6th back there as Brian Kelly loses out. Jesus Cabal moving up. He's +2 for the day.
And Jesus also got very, very much faster over the last 3 years, I would say. So if he takes 1 or 2 shovels onto it, he can race with the front pack, of course. So I'm very interested if he, takes this same approach for the next 2 years. As long as we have to skip it.
Yeah, so at the moment, 4 seconds the margin for Cabal to get to the likes of Neil Gardner, for example. Brian Kelly along with Peter Soapanki is trying to chase that group. And then you got that group further towards the back. Joachim Oshbeck, Brendan McDonough, Jason Berkheimer, Jerne Zorich trying to recover. Juani Rodriguez and Timothy Bentley trying to hold on to the back. It's a wonderful group as Schultz again remains close. 5 at the front now as they sit over the line and now move into the second half of this race with just 4 laps to go here at VIR's Grand Course. This has been a very, very important start to the race. They've been handing out their business cards, but at some point, gloves have got to come off. Neil Gardner with the fastest lap now as he crosses the line on a 50.6, as now Simonson again shadows, and Schultz goes through, and Cabal loses out. Brian Kelly throws one straight back down the inside.
Yeah, and that's the power of the draft. Also, Gardner now closing back into the podium drivers, and this will also be a back and forth between Cabal and Kelly, of course. So we have some very nice battles still up till the end of the race.
We absolutely do, and it will never truly be decided until that final lap. Out of the snake in the prime drafting zone of this circuit. Simonson happy to sit in behind, heading up towards the Hotel S's here, the right and the left out there on track. That might be one of the greatest hotels in the world of hotels ever, because you're right on the edge of the circuit. Schultz is there, and this is an attack or be attacked style of racing out there. If you sit back and wait and say, I can't make the move at any one corner, you'll look around and you'll see Lovasolo try and get through, or Gardner try and get through. It's very tough to race in this series.
Yeah, that's always the point. If you have the gap behind you, it's easy to follow, but if you don't want to attack, maybe it's time to move over and let the next guy pass. But of course, Mr. Schultz isn't into that.
No, he definitely doesn't want to give it up, but too wide, too deep. Simonson trying to go around the outside. Lovasolo's going to try and follow in kind, and they're going to get very close off the exit. 2 tyres off the road from Lovasolo. And Mayer here doesn't quite have the drive. Benny will now move to the outside of the spiral to try and get this move done. No dice. Mayer holds. Lovasolo throws one down in and takes 3rd place away from Seb Schultz. What a brave move by the Italian stallion.
Yeah, that's true, and Mr. Schultz has to tear down one visor, I think, after that overtake into the spiral.
That was wonderful. There's also been contact between Berkheimer and Zorich moving into turn 13. I think there was a case of Berkheimer trying to lead the room, and he just caught the tap on the rear as he went through, but Mayer still leads. Simonson 2nd, Lovasolo now up to 3rd, and I think he's doing this at just the right time, finding just enough momentum to make the moves. With 3 laps to go, he's 3rd. 2 laps to go, I reckon he wants to be 2nd. I think he wants to lead heading towards that final lap.
Yeah, that's the point. As we have seen, turn 1, of course, great overtaking spot, but of course, up the hill to the hotel, there was many position changes. So yeah, you want to be first in the last lap.
Mayer defensive again. Here comes Benny with the fastest lap of the race. Gardner soon takes that away. Trying the outside doesn't work. Now trying to get a quick release off the exit here to attack towards turn 2 and 3. Again, Mayer, middle of the road here, trying to defend. This is what happened then with Zorich. That's the tap to Berkheimer as he slid around. There was a few, I'm sorry, as they went through there, but no moves being done through NASCAR Bend, the left hook and the subsequent right hook that follows along, that leads to the snake, and it leads least right now, Jose Luis Meyer at the front, and the mayor of Quicksville is proving that he's got pace again.
It will be so tight with 3 laps to go. It will be, again, like it's always in the Skippy with these drivers. It's a race to the line, till the last corner, or even in the draft on the straight.
Jesus Cabal as well, side by side with Brian Kelly. That one will also go all day long. Cabal back through on Kelly, making that run out to the South Bend, up the top of the hill to the Oak Tree. Then as it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in a line. Meyer gets a great drive off the exit, so Simonson won't have the chance to attack down Madison Avenue here. We'll look around at Augusto Lovisolo. We'll look at Seb Schultz. We'll look at Neil Gardner, and you can wait and wait and wait as much as you like out here. At some point, you're going to have to push your chips in, or you're going to blind out in a race like this.
Yeah, chess with cars. That's Skippy racing.
And it's beautiful Skippy racing is what we see. Meyer struggling off of the exit. Benny Simonson picks up a run again, heading to the spiral. Thought about the outside, trying to feint to the inside to force Meyer to make a decision, but they break normally, and the positions stay as they are. Mind games now being thrown in.
Yeah, of course, if you park it a little bit more than expected, it, takes a little more care to the drivers behind you, especially if they also are driving close by. So, yeah, maybe some mind games or some tricks are needed to win this.
And Lovisolo now as close as he can be here towards Benny Simonson. If he wants to make this move, he's going to have to do so effectively, because there's a half a second gap now to Meyer, who leads this field outright. And Benny Simonson will look around at this and say, well, if you make that move, you're going to cost us at least half a second if you can't get it done cleanly. So there is that in the back of the mind, that you can't afford to let these passes be, I would say, uninhibited out there. You can't afford to let them be the sorts of passes that cost you half a second. You've got to secure the pass.
It's not always about getting your nose in. It's about making the overtake fast and safe. And they closed in again in the draft, and very, very narrow, with the front wing under the rear wing here.
And they're forcing themselves to keep setting purple lap after purple lap. Fastest laps are 50.2 this time from Augusto Lovisolo. They are really being forced here to run quick when you consider they were doing 2:51.2s, for example, on lap 2 of this race. They found a full extra second's worth of pace because they are having to push.
Yes, that's right. They push each other to the maximum, to the perfection. If you not have a perfect lap, you will lose out against these drivers.
Benny Simonson to the outside, side by side through the S's. 1S side by side, 2S side by side, 3S side by side. Lose out Meyer, and now here comes Lovisolo. Power move to the South Bend, lunging for the inside. Lovisolo! Oh, what a pass!
Wow, that's great driving. No accidents. Oh no!
The contact from Meyer through the middle of the corner. Lovisolo loses out just the one place, though. It gives Benny Simonson half a second, but it's by no means a guarantee. He got a wonderful pass sorted, but a contact heading up to the Oak Tree. Meyer's got damage to the front right wing.
Yeah, and Schultz lost out of position because he had to make some evasion maneuvers there.
And that will really hurt in this one. They're all sliding about now at turn 13. The off-camber corner down the hill. Schultz now in 5th. Gardner to 4th. Lovisolo still in 3rd, but still a chance for drivers to go and make this race with a lap and a half to go. Meyer has got to throw everything he can at it. Damaged car now to chase Benny Simonson. Zorech in a battle right now with Joachim Oshbeck and Brendan McDonough.
And that's how Skippy Racing also develops. You still have battles going on all over the field, and that's the great stuff.
McDonough Club Oz NZ, looking at Joachim Oshbeck then from Club Scandinavia. Here's another look. Meyer saw that pass go through, hit the brakes, and he just misjudged it there. And I think he was very fortunate to have that contact, or he was going straight on at the Oak Tree.
And that's always the case, like, yeah, maybe you brake too early, but here it was really a misjudgment.
And it really goes to show, look at how much trail braking is being done through the hog pen. Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. We got 1 lap to go at VIR. Benny Simonsen on the front. And now with the likes of Meyer and Lovisolo having come together once already in this race, is this going to be a case of they'll fight amongst themselves, or Simonsen is there? Gap has really opened up to the likes of Neil Gardner in 4th and Seb Schultz in 5th. I think they're going to have to work really hard if they want to put themselves in the battle that they've got, heading themselves through turn 2, over to NASCAR bend at 3. Meyer tucks right up in underneath in the Estrella Galicia car right now and hoping to find an angle through at any single section. This is the prime place we've seen it done, which is the run up the hill, but how much will the damage to the front wing affect this one? I doubt it'll be very much for Jose Luis Meyer, but it will be enough to give Benny Simonsen a little bit of hope. Lovisolo watching as they go under the bridge to the circuit. Meyer forcing himself to go to that inside. Simonsen has to leave him the room as they go up through the S's. 1S, 2S, red S, blue S, and there goes Jose Luis Meyer. He moves himself to the front, but Simonsen, wise to the alert moves that Lovisolo could find, now needs to have a great run through Oak Tree Corner, and that might set him up a chance to attack back again. Meyer now at the front of this field with half a lap to go. Out of Oak Tree, onto Madison Avenue. They will drive and head themselves over to the next right. Hard defense to the inside from Meyer. He's going to make this as difficult as possible. Simonsen now will go to the outside, trying to find this pass, and if he can manage it here, Lovisolo tries to force it 3 wide to 13. Looking at this one, not going to find the angle he needs. Simonsen trying to hold, trying to get around the outside. Oh, they all junk up together. Close with a little bit of contact. Simonsen survives. Lovisolo still in 3rd. Gardner sniffing around to see if there's a podium on the offing here with his quiet race that he's had through the spiral for the final time. Out then of turn 16, they go. Schultz will be departed from the back of the group then as he falls back to 0.8 of a second. But now you've got to start thinking, where is your last place to make the move? I say it's a desperate lunge that you're going to find, but out of shape, heavily out of shape through the S's then goes Benny Simonsen. Lovisolo might have a chance for the roller coaster for second here if he can just pick up the run, and he is hitting every apex with amounts of venom right now as he goes through in towards the roller coaster for the final time. Simonsen throws it deep into the corner, and now just a couple of corners away, it's about stave off the challenge and who's got slipstream. Remember that front wing for Jose Luis Meyer, because now coming out of the final corner here of the hog pen, driving over towards the line, it's 2 car lengths at the moment. It'll be down to a car length and a half, and I don't think it's going to be quite enough. The Mayor of Quicksville is doing it again. Close from Simonsen, but not enough. Jose Luis Meyer wins at VIR.
Just by some thousandths of a second, but also, yeah, Simonsen's front wing was damaged. So this is the end of this great race at Virginia, and everyone who accomplished to finish it can be happy, and even, of course, at the back of the grid.
Well, with 15 starters, we are going to get 15 finishers here today. The likes of Jason Berkheimer and also Jeff Calvert here will be looking to try and make their finishes through. Berkheimer with a tough race here today in the number 7 car after the little bit of contact that he had, just making sure to prioritize the finish, the iRacing and the safety rating here in an official race like this. But 2 weeks in a row for Jose Luis Meyer. He is on a purple patch of form.
And also, I take the chance to invite everyone to the Skippy Discord. Join us, be part of Skippy Racing. It's the best car on the service, in my opinion, and of many others. So if you're a rookie, you're welcome, and you get some extra tips to be as fast as these people.
Yeah, it is a very fun community to go out there and race with, and you've got some fantastic drivers with some fantastic skills. We watched Jeff Calvert, who has been at the back and trying to put himself through. Lowest I rating in this field has Jeff, and everyone's got to start somewhere, and so he'll be looking to try and improve through the ranks and maybe one day battle the likes of Lovisolo and Simonsen and Meyer out there on the service. But that will be Calvert over towards the line. and confirmed. So let's get your official classified results then here from VIR's Grand Course. And ultimately, it will be a gap of 87 thousandths of a second that separates Jose Luis Maya with a second consecutive victory, and Benny Simonson, who's there in second. Augusto Lovisolo will round out the podium after his contact with Maya dropped him back down to third, and he finds himself again on the wrong side of Lady Luck. Neil Gardner will finish fourth ahead of Seb Schultz, with Brian Kelly a full 9.6 seconds away in sixth. Jesus Cabal a further 3 seconds back of that in seventh. It would then be Peter Suapanki in eighth position, and Joachim Oshbeck, who would round out in ninth position overall. Your top 10 there actually being rounded out by Joachim Oshbeck, with Jerne Zorech finishing up in position number 9. Over the page then we go, just the final 5 drivers there. Brendan McDonough finishing off in 11th, with Juan E. Rodriguez in 12th position, with Timothy Bentley, Jason Berkheimer, and Jeff Calvert making up the field there of 15 drivers here from this Virginia International Raceway. I would say that was a very strong showcase of great sim racing there, Seb. You've got to be patient towards the end. You've got to make the chances happen. And Maya proved that he was possibly the most aggressive driver here today. He did everything he needed to get himself up to the top, especially when you consider it's going to be a very big close quarters race coming up at the halfway stage of the season when we head to Brands Hatch.
Yes, and you have to be aggressive here, in the Skippy, at these class of drivers, and you don't need to be unfair, but you have to squeeze them here and there, of course, or make some tactics and mind games. And we have seen that here to perfection, and so we have a deserved winner here.
A wonderful win and a lot of great action which will come about each and every Sunday. If that doesn't give you the itch for racing here on Easter Sunday, I don't know what does. I want to give a massive thanks to the team then here today who has brought this show over to you, from Sebastian, from Christian, and from Dougie. There is so much amazing sim racing that comes along with us at the Global SimRacing Channel. You do not want to miss any of it. There's more here today for your Easter Sunday. If your Easter lunch is anything to go by, Circuit of the Americas for the Classic Lotus Grand Prix Series is going to be big. The Porsche's Owners Club is going to be hitting Road America, of course, over later on. It's an oval race on the 26th of April over at Charlotte for the Grand Prix Legend Series, and crucially, IMSA Vintage, it's Road America 500 season, and it is the biggest race of the vintage calendar, so you definitely want to jump in and keep your eyes on that with us on the Global Sim Racing Channel as a Genesis Extreme production. In terms of when we're next with you, of course, we did just allude to it. Brands Hatch in 7 days' time. You're going to want to join us there for that as we get ourselves ready. 9:15 UTC, which is 10:15 GMT, or 5:15 Eastern District time out there. So join us for more great racing. But the story, I think, is very simple. To be at the top, you have to rule with command. You have to know exactly where to place yourself, and the jurisdiction of winning races for the second straight week is in the back pocket of the mayor of Quicksville. Jose Luis Maya wins at VIR, and he'll look to make it 3 straight victories when he heads over to Brands Hatch.